Even though it's Thursday night's class. You don't like what I have to say tonight. Wait until you hear it. Yeah, we'll do tonight's class. L'ilui nishmat Gidoy Asher Ben Tzivya. Menuchatav Gan Eden Bezrat Hashem. Shal Tzadikim Chasidim and La'avdil Elef Alfei Avdalot. I hate mentioning both of them in one sentence. Also, La'avdil for the Refuah Shlema of Moshe Ben Esther. Hashem should send him Refuah Shlema Bezrat Hashem. And all the sicknesses should go to Sonei Yisrael. So I had a little plan about what to discuss tonight, but I'm going to go off topic of my idea just for a couple of minutes because I feel obligated as a God-believing Jew to comment on something that happened in Israel today. We had a tragedy in Israel this morning that on a spiritual level is one of the greatest tragedies that Israel's ever seen. And you're going to say we didn't hear about any bombings and nothing blew up. And thank God no soldiers died today. No, we had a tragedy that was bigger than all that. There was a Supreme Court judge that was a retirement this morning. She was going out to pension, to retire. I don't even want to say such a person's name in a synagogue. It's like using foul language in a synagogue. And then what was the last thing she did before she left office? She passed a ruling that stores can be open on Shabbat. In Israel, there's a status quo that was established already that even Ben Gurion understood that there has to be a certain respect to the holiness of the land. And even though stores unfortunately are open on Shabbat, but it wasn't official. They were going against the law and we were looking away from it because we had no choice. Now she made it official that if the city decides that they want to open up certain types of stores, I'm not giving you the exact breakdown of the law, it makes no difference. If you really want to know, look it up tonight online. Then it would be, it's perfectly legal. Why is this the greatest tragedy that Israel ever faced? It sounds extreme, no, to use such terminology. Let me tell you what. There's an interesting Chafetz Chaim. The Chafetz Chaim discusses a parable. Says if a person doesn't put on tefillin, so, the Gemara has some titles and whatever, but all right, Hashem should help. One day you should put on tefillin. But from there, to say that he has other issues as a result, we don't say. He's missing that mitzvah, tefillin. If a person doesn't, whatever it is, each avirah or mitzvah that a person does is a very individual thing. There's only one mitzvah in the entire Torah that God suddenly takes a person, and as the Rambam writes, he titles him as if he wants to throw away his title of a Jew. You no longer want to be a Jew. And that's keeping Shabbat. The only mitzvah of the whole Torah. So Chafetz Chaim says, why is Shabbat? What's the big deal Shabbat? If anything, I have so many others that would come before. I have so many others that would come before. Lo tirtzach. Not to kill it, they'll definitely come before. What's the big deal? What's the whole agenda here? So Chafetz Chaim explains it with a very interesting parable. He says, if you come, you want to buy shoes. I don't remember which item he used in his parable. I'm going to use shoes. And you come to a shoe store. You want to go to Ferragamo. You're going to buy a nice new set of Ferragamos for the winter season. And you go on to Fifth Avenue, whatever the address is, and you come to the place, and you see that the door is closed. You try to open it, it's locked. You look inside, there's nobody there. Does that mean Ferragamo went bankrupt? No. That means that you came after the hours of the store. So next time come during the work hours, whatever they are, and you'll be able to go in and buy whatever you want. But let's say you go to the store, and there's no sign up, and there's nothing inside, and the room is empty. And then you go online, and there's no website anymore. And then you go looking for another store, and it's also empty, and there's no sign. What does that mean? They went bankrupt. The Chafetz Chaim says that means there is a concept of a store being closed for a few hours, and there is a concept of a store going out of business. This is the same thing with a Jew. He says all the mitzvot are the goods, the stock that's inside the Jewish store. He says that's 612 mitzvot. There's one mitzvah called Zachor et Yom HaShabbat L'Kadsho. That's the sign that we put outside to show that we're not bankrupt. And when you take the sign down, that means that you're going out of business. And that's why the Torah made such a big deal out of Shmirat Shabbat. This does not mean this is the Chavetz Chaim. So that means as long as the previous judges that recently did all different stupid things, like saying that the yeshiva students should go to the army, as if that's going to help. That's exactly what the Israeli military needs, a bunch of yeshiva students from Bnei Brak over there, making minyanim in the middle of war fields. Shtibel, Mincha Meir in the middle of Gaza, that's going to be. Right? So, more or less we stayed quiet. We made a machal when we had to and everything, but definitely me, I try to avoid it. Try to avoid discussing it. But when a judge can outright pass a law to take off the sign of a Jew saying he's a Jew, then what's left? Then at that point, what's left? But it came at a very interesting time between Parashat Noach and Parashat Lech Lecha. There's no mistake in the Torah, and there's no mistake in history. And if Hashem made that this person should do this stupidity on this day, there's a reason for that too. And why would a person do this stupidity exactly now before Parashat Lech Lecha? I'll tell you something very interesting. In the Holy Sefer Zera Shimshon, it says an unbelievable chidush. The Torah says, Lech Lecha me'artzecha, right? I'm skipping a bunch of words. El haaretz asher areka. So he asks a very simple question. Some of the English Chumashim wrote areka, that I will show you. In Lashon HaKodesh, areka is not that I will show you. So he says it should say ar'eh lecha, that ar'eh I will show, lecha to you. It doesn't say that. It says ar'eka. Ar'eka means I'll show you. Meaning you'll be the one who's being seen. That's not what Hashem told him. Hashem told him, Lech lecha me'artzecha, leave your house. Go to where? El haaretz, to the land, to the promised land. Asher ar'eka, that I'll show you. Why did it say Asher ar'eh lecha? That should have been the words that should have used. I think it's a very powerful question. The second part is, if it means that Hashem said, go to the place that I'll show you, then we have to ask another question. Hashem never showed it to him. Read the parasha. There's no way there that says Hashem went and took a piece of land and said, this is what I was talking about. This is the land. This should be a first grade question. And we learn this parasha every year. And I didn't think of this question until now. But it's so basic. First, he used the language that we don't understand. And then, it never even came out that way. And how do you know that this is right, that Hashem never pointed to specific land? Rashi writes so clearly, Lo gila lo haaretz miyad. Hashem didn't show him the land. Why? So Rashi has an explanation. Because he wanted to give him sachar for every step and that. It's, but there was more effort involved as a result, so everybody has the fear of the unknown. If you have the fear of the unknown, it's harder for you to do. If it's harder for you to do, so your reward will be bigger. So that's why Hashem did it that way. Fine, that's what Rashi explains. But at the end of the day, Rashi clearly states that he never showed it to him. Why? What's going on here? So comes the Rav Zera Shimshon and says an unbelievable thing. This is a grand slam. One of the greatest chidushim I see in my life. There is a Yalkut. The Yalkut is the Yalkut Shimoni in Parashat Vayera, Remes Kut Bet. The Yalkut Shimoni says, when Avraham Avinu came to the territory that today we call Jerusalem, he said, Vayikra Shem HaMakom Ahu, he called that place Hashem Yir'eh. Hashem will see. Or show, depending how you want to do it in the Kriyan Ktiv, but it means Hashem will see. This place was named before, it had a name before that. Shem, the son of Noach, also came to the territory called Jerusalem. And he called it Shalem. Melchizedek also called it Il Shalem. Comes the Yalkut and says, Yalkut is a Midrash, and says, God said like this, what are we going to name this territory? If we call it Yireh, it's an insult to Shem. Shem was a big tzaddik. If we call it Shalem, it's an insult to Avraham Avinu. He called it Yireh. I'm going to use both names. That's how it became Yerushalem, Yerushalayim. You went to Jerusalem before, now you know how the name came about. Wow. two great tzaddikim, Avraham Avinu and Shem. Each one gave it a name, and God said, I'm not going to disappoint either one. I'm going to use both of the names. We combined the names, and we came out with Yerushalayim. So over there the Yalkut says, but tzaddikim normally think alike. This, especially when it comes to names, because a name means that's the essence of the person, or the essence of the item. That's why God, as brought down in the Maharal, told Adam HaRishon to name creation, as opposed to God naming creation. So how could it be that two people went and said two different names, which would mean that the essence of Jerusalem is two different things, and God will connect them? How does that connection work? So the Midrash explains it. Brilliant. The Midrash says, Shalem means whole, perfect. Shleimut, right? Shem and Melchizedek and others, the Midrash says, when they came to Jerusalem, they saw it was the perfect place. It had in it everything that you need for perfection. Had everything. So they figured if a place is perfect, if there's perfection in a place, what would be the best name to title it? Perfection. So they called each other. But what was perfect that they went and titled it about? That it had good health, that it had good produce, that it had the materialistic ends of it. The Midrash says that the people were strong and it was filled with blessing and they were successful there. So they called it a successful place, a whole place. When Avraham Avinu came and called it Hashem Yireh, Avraham Avinu didn't see the physical elements of Yerushalayim. He saw that Yerushalayim has a positive spiritual influence on him. So he said Yireh milashon Yirah, Yirat Shamayim, that he came to Yerushalayim and it gave him a spiritual benefit just being Yerushalayim. And that's why he called it Hashem Yireh. That from here I got Yirat Hashem. I obtained something from being in Yerushalayim. Comes to Midrash and says, which one's right? They're both right. Eretz Yisrael has in it the Shleimut HaRuchani, the spiritual perfection, and the Shleimut HaGashmi, the materialistic perfection. Hashem said, let's combine both names, because they're both correct. Just each one looked at it from a different perspective, a different part of what was in Jerusalem. So that's how the name Jerusalem came about. Now, if that's the case, let's go on and learn a Gemara. There is a Gemara, Masechet Ketubot of Kuf Yud Bet Amud Aleph. And the Gemara over there says an unbelievable thing. Ma tzvi zeh ein oro machzik et besaro. Just like a deer, its skin doesn't hold its flesh, vice versa, the flesh holds the skin. Af Eretz Yisrael, also the land of Israel, בזמן שיושביה עליה רווחה, אין יושביה עליה גמדה. So too Eretz Yisrael, when people dwell on it, when the Jews dwell on it, it is a land that's fruitful, it's successful. And when the Jews aren't dwelling in it, it's a land of failure. Yimach Shemam, Sonei Yisrael, lived in Israel almost since exile until 1948. And it was a land that nobody was interested in. It was a desolate place that, at the testimonial of Mark Twain, not that I think his testimonial is so valid in life, because he was a real Jew hater with a huge agenda, but even he said, I came to a desolate land that they can't even grow a flower in, or something like that. The Jews came in 1948, returned to their land, took back what was stolen from them for so many years. I know the United Nations doesn't agree with that, but tough luck on that. And suddenly, Israel is producing agriculture and exporting all over the world. A few years ago, this thing couldn't grow a flower. Now, what happened? So Chazal say what happened. Gemara said this already. Really, the Pasuk says it. Pasuk already promises that when Am Yisrael is not going to be in Eretz Yisrael, it's going to be desolate, completely desolate. There's a lot of reasons for that. Amongst that, HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to show His power in the world. But in this Gemara, there is a deeper explanation as well. That's based on a Rashi. Rashi says in Bereshit in Perek Chav Gimel Pasuk Yud Zayin that when Avraham Avinu bought the field from Ephron, what we call today Ma'arat HaMachpelah, so Rashi brings down over there, Al vekam sde Ephron. Tkuma hayta lo. What does that mean? But suddenly the value of the field of Ephron went up. It elevated itself. Meaning until now it was a worthless thing, and now it's worth something. Al becomes the Ephron. Its value elevated. Why? So if you look good over there and understand the Rashi, it's very simple. The Rashi explains what Mevual in Rashi is that when Am Yisrael owns a piece of land in Eretz Yisrael, so the ownership of a Jew on the piece of land makes the land a blessed piece of land. So at that point, the land is a successful piece. But as long as Ephron owned it, who was a goy, so the land is a failure. It doesn't work. So it says over here. That's what's Mevual in Rashi. If that's the case, comes the Rav Zera Shimshon and takes it a step further. If a righteous person lives on a piece of land in Israel, a tzaddik, so the land is going to be even more successful. Now you want to know how a 70-year-old nation is called a startup nation in the world? Because in Bnei Brak, in Yerushalayim, there are a few yeshiva students that never went to an elementary school or a high school and sit and learn Torah all day. And their Kedushat HaTorah gets absorbed into the land and gives chokhmah to the others that they're able to succeed in their business ventures. That means that a few yeshiva boys in Bnei Brak are supporting the entire country of Israel. And that's literal, it's not an exaggeration. They're supporting the entire country. I remember when I was in yeshiva, about 14 years old in Israel, 14 and a half years old, Yeshivat Kol Torah in Bayit Vagan. I was once on a bus. That was one of the few times in my life I went on a bus. And, no, I'm not looking to go back to those days. The yeshiva part, I wish I can go back. And a guy came over to me with two friends. And there was one that stood up front, two behind him. He started screaming at me in the middle of the bus. I don't know, I didn't say hello to him. I had nothing to do with him. I don't know who he is until this very day. You parasite. You don't work. You don't have an education. How are you going to go out to the world? What are you going to do when you have to make a living? What are you this? I was young. I didn't know what to answer. I was quiet. When I went back to the yeshiva, I was very hurt, insulted, and confused. And I remember going to the Rosh Yeshiva and telling him this is what happened. And what am I supposed to think? So he told me two things. First of all, you should know that to be embarrassed is a good thing. If somebody embarrasses you, you don't say anything, ashrecha, you went to a very high level spiritually. He said, second of all, let me tell you what to think. And he showed me this chazal. And he said, next time, if somebody tells you that, you should tell them, not only am I not living off your account, you are living off of my account. So if anybody between us is a parasite, it's you. Because the only reason why there's any blessing here is because of this learning. And without this is nothing. Especially Torah, Tinochot Shel Beit Rabban, and those under 20 that are not chayavei karetz too. No. Now let's take it a step further. If that's the case, what does that mean? That before Avraham Avinu goes into Israel, Israel's a land that's not so successful. When Avraham Avinu goes into Israel, the Koach HaKdusha of Avraham has to physically turn the land of Israel into a land that's successful. Now let's just imagine something. If you would have a rabbi that comes to your office to ask you for a donation, say you give him $80, $180, whatever you give. But let's say every single time he walked in, let's say comes once a year, every that date of the year that he comes in, as he walks into the door of your office, the deal goes through, you make a few $1 million. First of all, you'll tell him, please come a few more times than once a year. Haram, only once a year. You're welcome every day here. Second of all, his checks are going to keep on getting bigger and bigger. First time, you may say it's a coincidence, but if it happens consistently, that every time he walks into the store, something happens. Not that I am righteous in any way, shape, or form, but there used to be a clothing store in Manhattan. That was a very prestigious store, and owned by an Israeli guy. And he once came here to a shiur, and he said he wants to say a few words at the end of the shiur. At the end of the shiur, he got up and he spoke, and he said, guys, I want to give a plug to my clothing store, because all your rabbi's clothing comes from there. I was embarrassed. I said, I didn't want people to know where I shop, especially that everything I got there was for free. It was double embarrassing. He said, and I don't charge him. You know why? Because as he walks in, I always get good customers. So I told him, don't fool yourself. I have a lot of friends. They look at me. They say, this guy dresses not bad. So they ask me where I go to. So when I go shopping, they come. There's nothing spiritual. But by Avraham Avinu, it was literal. So when he went to the land of Israel, Israel became successful. Now listen to the best chidush one of the best chidushim I've ever heard in my life. Comes the Rav Zera Shimshon and says, if that's the case, it's an amazing thing. We ask two questions. Number one, why doesn't it say Arelecha? Hashem will I will show you. Number two, why does it say what? We never found that Hashem told him where the place is. He says one question answers the other. It's all one thing. Comes the rabbi and says, what did HaKadosh Baruch Hu tell him? Leave here and start traveling. And you know when you'll know when you hit the destination? And ha'aretz asher ar'eka, when the land will make you famous. When people will say, wow, since this guy came here, this place is successful. Then you'll know you got to the destination. And that's why they didn't have to tell him when. Unbelievable pshat. Unbelievable pshat. How appropriate is this pshat? I saw this pshat the first time tonight in my life. I learned Zera Shimshon, but this piece I must have missed. Exactly on the day that people didn't understand why to respect the pshat Eretz Yisrael. Why to respect that in Israel on Shabbat Kodesh we have to keep the stores closed and not open. But I don't give up on any Jew. So I bless this judge. Whatever I said, I don't want to say the name in the shul. Hashem should send her to Refuah Shleima b'meira. He should help her correct the damage that she did to Klal Yisrael, and she should do Tshuva Shleima. Because that's what she needs. She needs a Refuah Shleima. She's sick mentally. She needs a Refuah Shleima. Because anybody with seichel doesn't... What are we supposed to tell a Muslim when he comes and says, you stole my father's land after this ruling? He's right. The Israelis came in 1948 and stole the land. So what was the case until now? That we're a Jewish state and we have the right to return to our land. But if you take the sign off and you're not a Jewish state anymore, you have no right to return. So then the United Nations suddenly has a case already. Maybe that's why even FIFA wants to throw the soccer team out. And everybody else wants to do everything against Israel. All over a stupid ruling of a dumb judge. And you're going to say, how can you talk like that about a judge? Because if a judge doesn't understand that the laws of the Torah are higher than her laws, then she's not a judge. But what does this have to do with you and me? So it has to do with us three things. Number one, there's a pshat from the Rav Mibrisk. The Rav Mibrisk said, this goes in Chumash Shmot, very, very famous pshat, that Shlosha ayu ba'ota yitzah, when Paro wanted to know what to do with the Jews, Yaakov Melech Hadash, right, it says over there, and then he brought people, advisors, to see what to do with the Jews. So his advisors were Bilam and Yitro Shemicha. Yitro went and fought against Paro. That's why he was exiled. They exiled their own man, right? He was the priest, the high priest, the holy man in there or whatever. And they exiled him. He had to run away or I don't know, whatever, depending how you land the Midrash. Because he fought Paro. He said, bug off the Jews. What do you want from them? And he merited great things from them. What did he merit? That he became a father-in-law of Moshe Rabbeinu. That was son-in-law like Moshe Rabbeinu. That was his schut. Where did he get it from? I'm saying what you have to say. Bilam said, you're right, let's kill the Jews. The end of Bilam, we all know, it wasn't so good. Yitro was Parv. He was somewhere in the middle. He didn't say this. Not Yitro, sorry. Yov was Parv. He didn't say, kill the Jews. He didn't fight against it. He stayed quiet. So Chazal say, Yov sheshatak kibel Yisurim. Yisurei Yov, the whole book of Yov suffered because he stayed quiet. Yov sheshatak kibel Yisurim. That's the case. The Rabbi Brisk says he doesn't understand. Hashem runs the world midah kineged midah. Based on what you do, he does. Because he wants to understand this. Mele Bilam, he said kill the Jews, so at the end he died. Tragic way. He understands. Mele Yitro, he wanted to build the Jews, to save the Jews. So Hashem made him that the leader of the Jews should be his son-in-law. It fits. But Yov stayed quiet. So you want to say he did something. First of all, what's wrong? So he stayed quiet, he didn't say anything. Second of all, let's say there is something wrong. So make that he should stutter. I don't know. He shouldn't be able to speak or whatever. But what's the connection of suffering Yisurei Yov, the worst Yisurim in the world, to the point that there's an opinion in the Gemara in Bava Batra, Yov lo haya v'lo nivra, there was never such a person as Yov at all. Because it can't be that a person should suffer so much and survive. So comes the Rabbi Brisk and says very simple, the connection. If somebody falls down the stairs, God forbid, we should never know. The reason why I say that, even though it doesn't sound so tragic, is because a relative of mine fell down the stairs Shabbat 2 weeks ago and passed away as a result a few hours later. So sometimes even a little slip and fall is not a joke. You need to have dishmaya to be healthy. Hashem has to help you every day. Don't take any breath for granted, because it's all a gift. And that's literal. Unbelievable. So the person trips. What's the instant reaction? Aye! Well, what are you screaming aye for? It helps you? Makes you feel better? No, but what's the answer? So the Rabbi said it in Yiddish. I'm going to say it in Yiddish and translate. That in logic it makes no sense, but asitut vei shreit me. When something hurts you, you scream. Because Baruch Hu came to Yov and said, if it would have hurt you, that they're stepping on the Jews like that, and then they want to make it, it's true it would have not helped, and Paro would have never listened to you, and probably you would have gotten into trouble for it too. But asitut vei, if you would have cared about Am Yisrael, if it would have hurt you, shreit me, you would have screamed, you would have said something. So yes, we live in New York, and yes, our stores, not the Jewish ones, the Goyim stores should definitely be open on Shabbat, and this is not a subject to us at all. But why do we discuss this on a Thursday night class in New York and spend half a class on it? Because asitut vei, because if it hurts you, that such a thing could happen in Am Yisrael, shreit me. The least we can do is to make it a point to say that us as Jews, definitely as American Jews, don't agree with this. And the next time we're in Israel, we will deliberately make it a point to buy from merchants that their stores are closed on Shabbat, and not to buy from merchants that their stores are open on Shabbat. And to use taxi companies that they're closed on Shabbat, and not to use taxi companies that are open on Shabbat, and so on. And when enough stores will see that that's the way it's going, that the tourists are all going in the direction of Shomrei Shabbat, very quickly, we won't need no judge and no law and no nothing. They'll just be worth it business-wise to be closed on Shabbat. Because at the end of the day, people vote with their feet. That's the ultimate thing. Years ago, when I came to Lakewood, New Jersey, as a single boy, Kemach Yashan was almost like saying bad words. It not only didn't exist, it was made fun of. Nobody kept it, there was no such thing. Shitat Abach, the Olam Yeshivot never kept it. Today, if you want to find something in Lakewood that's not Kemach Yashan, good luck. What changed? Supply and demand. More and more Kollel students started learning the Sugyot and realized that even though maybe there's a heter, but at the end of the day, it's definitely better to do otherwise. More and more people started coming Sephardic Jews, that to them it was even more to their heart than important to them. Suddenly guys went into the bakery, do you have Kemach Yashan flour? No. And they walked out. 20 of those a day that walk out. What does the guy say? You still got to become Kemach Yashan. I'm not losing 20 customers a day. So today, you walk into any restaurant in Lakewood, New Jersey, automatically, Hashem, what's the question? Of course. All the way at the end of the season, once in a while, you'll see a sign. We can't guarantee you that this one item on the menu, maybe that one's not Yashan. But in general, it's supply and demand. That's the way it is. 25 years ago, when my parents said we have to keep Bet Yosef for Sephardic Jews, nobody knew what Bet Yosef is at all. You walked into a butcher and you told him, Bet Yosef means, he said, what's that? Never heard of it. Today, I don't know if there's real Bet Yosef besides the one butcher, but if there is, I won't give him a plug, but I will say that he's located in Lakewood, New Jersey, so nobody say you should use my recording to say some Brooklyn butchers, okay? But if there is real Bet Yosef, it's only because of supply and demand. And people started saying, wait a second, we're Sfaradim. We want to stick to the halakha the right way, the way we're supposed to, and therefore this is what we want to do. It's going to work the same way now from Israel. Supply and demand. In Jerusalem, many of the hotels have a very, very high kashrut level. Halavai one day Queens should have a kashrut level 1% of what their hotels are over there. Why? You think the owners are such big Yirei Shamayim, they're owned by big corporations? No, that's not their concern. Because there's so many Haredi Jews from Flatbush and from here and from all over that go there for the holidays, and they're the best customers. And so many Hasidim that go for like Ba'omer and to their Rebbe's for Rosh Hashanah and so on. If they're not going to have a high standard of kashrut, they're out of business in a day and a half. Nobody's coming. It's over. So suddenly, one after another, each one's bragging. Tell us what you want. We'll get it. If we just tell us. No problem. As open-minded as could be. Is it L'Shem Shamayim? No, but who cares? The outcome is there. The result is there. It's an amazing thing. It's an unbelievable thing.
Kosher restaurants open on Shabbat.
It's also interesting. Kosher restaurant is open on Shabbat. There's a guy in Queens. catering halls are restaurants, so maybe that's different. I don't know.
Yeah.
But a restaurant be'etzim, at least in Israel, according to Rabbanut, if you open on Shabbat, you can get a hechsher. So it doesn't work.
Event that
The goy is a partner.
there's an event that they host in a restaurant.
That's a catering hall.
Yeah, right.
It's not a restaurant.
Right.
In Queens, they confuse, catering halls and restaurants. In general, you have to figure out if there's such a thing as kosher over here. That's a separate question. But if there is, then one has nothing to do. That's a totally different discussion for a different day, maybe. We want to take life risks. But be'etzim, could it be caterers? A lot of work on all caterers work on Shabbat, right? No shul without food without caterings are working on Shabbat. There's a system in halacha how to do it. They prepare before, they warm up under certain criteria. They have a mashgiach there who knows what he's talking about. Yeah, hopefully at least. And they do it. They got to do it as well. Klal Yisrael's fed every Shabbat through caterers that are open on Shabbat. In Israel, the Rabbanut has a simple policy that if you open on Shabbat, you can't have a chechsher because otherwise there's no control. So if you're a hotel or a catering hall, it's different. But if you call yourself a restaurant, then you got to be closed. That's a very justified thing. So that's the second reason that we spoke about this. Here's your third reason why we spoke about this. Because it's brought down in the Sifrei Musar, amongst them Rabbi Yisrael Salanta, but there's a lot of proofs from this from Chazal way before that. The way one Jew behaves in one end of the world affects the spiritual way another Jew behaves in the other end of the world. I think they say in the name of Rabbi Yisrael, maybe I got it wrong, but I think so, that if there's a Jew in Paris that's Machalel Shabbat, that's because in Salant there's a boy who's not Makbir HaMuktzah according to some Chumrah of the Magen Avraham. So that means if in Israel they were able to give such a ruling on Shmirat Shabbat today, and the Kosh Baruch was coming to us in New York and saying, your Shmirat Shabbat is not enough. What are you doing wrong on Shabbat? And if we strengthen our Shmirat Shabbat over here, we'll have a direct influence on every single Jew around the world that they should also be more in tune to keeping Shabbat. And that's why this is not an Israeli issue. This is a you and me issue. We're all in this together, and we all have to hurt it together and and follow the solution together. Because Baruch was testing us, Simot HaMashiach, and Dafka on the Inyan of Shabbat. Also, somebody told me, I'm not so familiar with these things, there's some sort of propaganda that this week there's like a Shabbat, they invite guests or something like that. What's it called? Shabbos Project. No, so that's Tshuvat HaMishkal. Maybe in the schus of the Shabbos Project, it'll help a little bit the other way. And this Shabbos thing, I think, is actually successful. A few of my secular friends told me that they are going to families and that they're into it.
3 years already.
So maybe that's Tshuvat HaMishkal. Hashem shall watch over Amisam and that's good. But Yimot HaMashiach, and then in the last few seconds before Mashiach, so of course the big war is going to be over Shabbat, because that's the knockout punch to bring Mashiach. Klal Yisrael keeps two Shabbatot miyadim nigalim, no matter what it brings Mashiach. So of course the biggest fight has to be over Shabbat. That's why we have to do whatever we can to do a chizuk in Shmirat Shabbat. Unfortunately, there are those who think Shabbat's a very boring day. They have nothing to do and no way to keep themselves busy or whatever, or they don't want to be home because it's not so pleasant at home on Shabbat. So that's every person's responsibility to make Shabbat a very pleasant environment for their surroundings, so we should look forward to Shabbat instead of vice versa. I think in our communities that's not such a big deal because the amount of food and alcohol that we consume over the weekend, Shabbat's actually a pretty entertaining day. So I don't see what the big whatever. But even if a person doesn't keep Shabbat yet, we should never know. So at least start with something. Sleep the whole time. It's also a step. At least you're not Mechalel Shabbat that way. Sleep the whole time. Eat Friday night, have a few drinks, whatever, do what you gotta do, go to sleep. Don't do a bagel, do 2 bagels. You wake up, Rabbeinu Tam, make Havdalah, at least you weren't Mechalel Shabbat. It's a very sad, morbid way to keep Shabbat. I wouldn't want to do it myself, but that's better than doing Chilul Shabbat. It's also a step. It's also a step. There was a guy, Syrian boy, unbelievable boy, that I was friendly with, and we were once in Israel, like on a weekend together, and he wasn't a Shomer Shabbat. Today, Baruch Hashem, he has a beautiful family, and they all keep Shabbat together. And he told me he wants to come for Lag BaOmer. But his condition is that he's going to respect me, and I'm going to respect him. So I said, I always respect you. What's the question? He said, no, but I don't keep Shabbat, you know that. I said, and therefore what? Do what you want, it's not my business. I don't tell people what to do. So he says, no, like if I decide to go out Friday night, don't get upset. I said, you ever see me get upset in my life? I'm the most calm, cool, collected person. Leave me alone. What do you want from me? I see he's trying to instigate, but it's not working. He came. Friday night, we sat in the hotel. We had a big meal with a bunch of guys and everything. And I asked him what he likes drinking most. He told me some name of some wine. I went to the waiter. I said, bring me a case. He told me, what do you mean a case? You know how much it costs? I said, I don't care. It's God's bill. It's Shabbat. What do I care what it costs? Hotzot Shabbat. You know me, minyan. It's God's bill. Who cares? I'm not even asking. I don't want to look. I don't want to know. It's going to be invoiced to God by Saturday night. Don't worry about it. So he says, a case of 6 bottles. I bring you 6 bottles? I said, start with 6. So he said, what do you mean start? I said, you see that guy? When you see that you passed out, then you stop bringing. Till then, we need constant refills. What is this way to care? He brought, like this, it was Sisu V'Simcha. It was Purim, Simchat Torah, and everything together one night. Hazit, the poor guy, got so drunk. Not that I'm encouraging it in any way, it's not healthy, it's a stupid thing to do, and it's probably against the Torah also. But in this case, it was a hard shot, there was no choice. At a certain point, he couldn't walk, talk, think, or anything else. They carried him up to his bed, they put him in his bed. He first woke up 3 o'clock in the afternoon the next day. Shabbat was over at 8. And he had a hangover, so he couldn't get out of bed. Baruch Hashem, the TV remote was far from him, so he couldn't reach it. His phone was far from him too, and he ended up keeping Shabbat. Saturday night, Babylon, he said, the first Shabbat of my life I kept. He said, it's amazing what a bottle of wine could do to somebody. Gdula L'Gima, unreal. So Chazal said, Gdula L'Gima שמקרבת הלבבות. I said, Gdula L'Mgira שמקרבת השבת. It brings Shabbat closer. The next week, he told me after the next Shabbat, we were buried back in America. He says, you know, I kept Shabbat again this week? So what do you mean kept Shabbat? I thought you don't keep Shabbat. You gave me a whole speech a few weeks ago. I said, I'll tell you the truth. It wasn't so bad last week. It was chill. So I also went Friday night to my parents. I told my mom to send me a room upstairs. I had a few drinks with my dad. We chilled, whatever. I slept like 15, 16 hours. I woke up. It was only a few hours left. I went to Mincha in the synagogue. He said, I even stayed for Eli Mantz's speech. That's what he tells me. I said, and how was the speech? He said, it was great. I said, just do me a favor. Don't get too religious on us. We don't want you fanatic over here. He says, no, that's not going to happen to me. Well, today's married. He has 1 kid, Baruch Hashem. Beautiful family. His parents are Shomei Shabbat. His brothers and sisters are all Shomei Shabbat. And he, after already working, he was working when he was a boy with me in Israel, left his job, gave it to his brother, meaning his company, gave it over to his brother to run for him, and currently took 2 years off sabbatical, which he may make an extension on, to learn in Kolel. Because mitzvah golelet mitzvah. Had nothing to do with me and had nothing to do with that weekend. That's the way a Jew is. If he does something once and he sees he could do it, he does it a second time, and a third time, and a fourth time. That's the nature of a Jew. He never believed he could keep Shabbat. When he kept Shabbat, nothing happened. The world went on. He was able to survive it. It was okay. So now it's so much easier to keep the second one, and the third one, and the fourth one. Suddenly it became nature. Once it became a nature, he wanted to keep more. Only Shabbat, come on. And he started going to Shiurei Torah, and I don't know, probably Rabbi Menzel was one of them that he told me, but maybe others as well. He heard this, heard that, heard the other. Okay? And that's why these projects and these things that they do, even though in general I don't like these campaign things, specifically in the area of Shabbat, it's a wonderful thing. Because who knows, maybe exactly the exposure that somebody has to a nice Shabbat in his life. But if any of you are hosting for this Shabbat, I want to give you a tip so you don't ruin it. Don't preach. Your guests came to eat and to drink. They don't need to hear you sing, especially if you're tone deaf. They don't need to hear you divrei Torah, because they didn't come for speeches that they could hear online. They came to enjoy themselves. Make sure that they have fun. If they had a good time, they had a pleasurable time, then you succeeded. If Shabbat became a day of 1,000,000 restrictions, then you failed in the biggest way. That's not the goal. The goal is that Shabbat should be a positive experience. And that's what's going to guarantee that one day our kids are Shomei Shabbat. Because if by us, Shabbat's a positive experience, they end up keeping Shabbat. And if by us, Bar Minan, Shabbat's not a positive experience, Hashem Yirachim, they don't end up keeping Shabbat. And this is a very important message. And now I want to say one more piece over here that I think is very important. I was going to say it a little bit longer, but I'm going to say it in short because we ran out of time. Rosh Baruch Hu told Avram, he was still Avram at that point, told HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Mati tenli v'anochi olech ariri. What's, in simple English, I'm not translating obviously, he told him, God, what's it worth, everything that I have? I have no children. And his example was that his servant, Eliezer, is going to be the one who's going to take over. What did Hashem do in return? Took him outside. What do you have to take him outside for? Answer. Because he wanted to show him something. What did he show him? Vayomer, abet na shamayma. Look at the sky. Usvor hakochavim, and count the stars. Im tuchal lispo otam, could you count them? Vayomer lo, and he told them back, ko yezar. He continued to tell him, ko yezarecha. This is the way your children are going to be. You'll have so many children. So Meir Shapiro Milublin says this whole thing makes sense. If Hashem wanted to bless him, don't worry, everything will be fine, you'll have a kid. So you should have told him straight away. Take him outside, show him the stars, could you count? What was this? Second of all, it's kind of a silly thing to say almost. Chas v'shalom, but kaviyachol. Would you tell somebody to do something that he can't do? No. And if you want to use something that's impossible to do as an example, so you would say, just like you can't do this, so then that. The Pasuk doesn't say that. First God told him, go outside and count the stars. Then he told him, you see you can't count them? You'll also have tons of kids that'll be unnumbered. Even if God, for whatever reason, wanted to use the parable of stars, he should have just told him straight out. Just like the stars in heaven, there's no way to count. Same thing. You'll have B'yai Nara, a great family. What's this extra step in the middle? A beit na shamayim. Go outside and look at the shamayim. Spot and count them. If tu chali spot them, see if you can count them. You can't do it. No. What's this? What's the middle step for? So Meir Shapiro Milubin Zatzal Schutag in Aleinu says an unbelievable shot. He said, HaKadosh Baruch Hu told him, you know why what Koy Yezarcha means? Not that you'll have children. Having children is not enough. Some people have children, all they have from the children is big tsar. Children have buried their parents in their life with the tsar that they caused them. So having children alone is not enough. Because Baruch Hu told him something very deep. He said, Habet na shamayim. Look at the shamayim. Usvor hakochavim and count. Now, if I tell you to go outside now and count the stars, would you even go outside? No. Why? Because it's impossible. But Avraham Avinu did go outside, and he did start counting. He told him, wait a second. Avraham, what's wrong with you? Avraham, he was still then. What's wrong with you? Why'd you go outside at all? You should have left him. You should have told me, what are you doing? You went outside and counted stars that's impossible to count. He said, you know why? Ko yezaracha. Because I want to bless you, that your children should have that power ingrained in them. That what's possible or not possible to do is not what's going to make a Jew. A Jew is always going to try, even if the mission seems impossible. And because he tried, he'll end up succeeding also. Because by then already Hashem gives you a gift of success. That means the Klal Yisrael got a special bracha, and you see this in the nature of Jews, that we defy all odds all the time. We beat all odds. The rules of nature, the odds don't apply to us. They don't apply to us. And time again. This is an unbelievable bracha that Am Yisrael got from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. This is the way of Meir Shapiro Milubin. This we see from so many places in Chazal. Again, there's no Azman Katzer. We don't have time to show you from all over. But there's so many places in Chazal to show this Yisod. Amongst them, one of the examples is Yaakov Yagen got to the well, and there was a rock on the well, and everybody was waiting. Why? Because it's impossible to get this rock off. You need all the shepherds together to push the rock off. And Yaakov Yagen went and took the rock off. Not just did he take the rock off alone. Rashi says, what does it mean? That he took the rock off from the top of the well. So Rashi's words are, Ke'adam ha'ma'avir et ha'pkak me'al pitzluchit. Lehodiachash ve'kocho gadol. Like a person who takes off a cap from a bottle, like nothing, took zero effort. Who cares if it took effort or not? Second of all, what's Rashi trying to teach us with this? Rashi doesn't say things for nothing. Third of all, the Pasuk doesn't say that. The Pasuk says, Vayagel ta'evim al pi ha'be'er. But he took it off. It doesn't say if it was hard or easy for him. Rashi is not a Remez book. It's a Pshat book. That means Rashi learned that the Pshat of the Pasuk is it took no effort. It was an easy thing for him to do. From where? Where did Rashi get that from? And what was Rashi's point? What was he trying to do? Bifrat, the Torah never takes pride in having physical strength. Sorry, boys with six packs. That's not our pride. That's something, if anything, to be embarrassed of. Torah doesn't take Goliath, Goyim, yeah. Others, they took pride in physical strength. Torah never took pride in physical strength. That wasn't the pride. We all know that. We just don't always realize it. Somebody would tell you, you ever heard of a tzaddik named Abba Tzaddik? Sure. You know how strong he was? You look like, what? Who cares? Like, what does that have to do with anything? So that means you also know that it's a stupid thing to discuss. Torah doesn't discuss it. So suddenly Rashi has to come and say, you know how strong he was? He was able to get it off like nothing, even though otherwise it would have needed so many people. What's going on over here? What's pshat in this? More than that, Tfilat HaGeshem, in Nusach Ashkenaz it's much clearer, by us it's a little less clear. Tfilat HaGeshem is based around this Rashi. Just like Yaakov Avinu got the rock off easily for the water for those shepherds, Hashem give us rain easy. That's even a bigger kasha. So he turned something that's not even a pride of a Jew into a prayer? That for sure needs to explain. It makes no sense. What's going on? These are not my questions, obviously. These questions are Maran Agrach Shmulevitz, Zechet Tzadik V'Kadosh Levacha, Chaim Shmulevitz. I ask these questions. Comes up Chaim Shmulevitz, it's put down in the Sefer Sichot Musar, and he says an unbelievable thing. He says, no. What Rashi is saying is like this, that physically it was impossible to get that rock off for one person. And what's the proof? That the Roitzon were strong people. They were out all day working. They were very physically fit people. And they had to wait for everybody to gather together to be able to move this rock. What Rashi is saying is, Yaakov Avinu didn't get it off with physical strength. He got it off with koach haratzon, with willpower. The blessing that Hashem gave Abraham Avinu 2 generations prior to his grandfather. Ko yezaracha. Your kids will be kids that if they want to accomplish something, they'll be able to do it even if it doesn't make sense logically. But they have to want. And they have to actually make an action towards doing it. That's what Rashi is saying. Yaakov Avinu came to a rock. Physically, he was weak. In the Metziut, in the factually, there was no way he can get it off. But Hashem made a ness and got it off him. Not just got it off him, so easy, like taking off a cap. Why? To show this concept that that's what he blessed Abraham Avinu. That by a Jew, koach haratzon, the power of will, is what counts, not the power of anything else. So we come to Hashem and we say in Tfilat HaGeshem, the matzah, whether we're right or we're not right, or if you're going to judge us based on the mitzvot and averot that we do, we don't know if we deserve rain. But our ratzon pnimi, the inside will of every Jew, is to do the right thing. So the koach haratzon, because our willpower is to do the right thing, and that's good, just like Yaakov Avinu easily got the well open, you easily give us rain, which rain really resembles parnasah in general. Unbelievable pshat from Chaim Shmulevitz. And based on this, by the way, he explains another thing by Yaakov Avinu. Chazal say, "V'yishkav ha'makom hahu," right? So Rashi brings down, "Makom hahu shachav." But Yud Shanim shehab Shem ve'eva lo shachav. When he got to that place, he slept. But the 14 years he was in Yeshiva Shem ve'eva, he didn't sleep. So Chaim Shmulevitz says, that's mashma over there that he didn't sleep at all. Period. Even on a rock. Even why? Because where did he sleep? When he slept on a rock. That means not in a setting of a real sleep. So when he finally slept, the Torah says Veishkav Makom Hahu was a temporary setting of sleeping. That means during the 14 years, even a temporary setting of sleeping, he didn't sleep. So Chaim asks, he says, what does that mean? How's it possible for somebody to 14 years not to sleep? Even the Gemara says that if somebody makes a neder that he's not going to sleep for 3 days, Makim Otov Yashen Miyad. You can go to sleep right away and give him Malkut. Why? Because the neder shab. It's impossible for a person not to sleep 3 days. Yaakov Avinu 14 years didn't sleep. How's it possible? Comes up Chaim Shmulevitz and says, you're right, it's impossible. but his koach haratzon, his willpower to learn, was so great that at that point, the Baruch Hu said, now it's possible. Because the koach haratzon, the willpower, has more power than all the physical laws of nature by nature. It outdoes all the physical laws. Comes up Chaim and concludes that piece in a few words. And these words I want to quote. Al yomar adam, a person shouldn't say, איך אוכל להגיע לגדלות ועמקות התורה כי בזמנו של רבי עקיבא איגר זצ"ל. How can I get to the depth and the levels of Torah like Rabbi Akiva Eiger? והרי כוחותיי דלים ומעטים, well, what's my strength of learning? I don't know. טעות בידו. He's making a gross mistake. כי הכל תלוי ברצון. Because everything depends on willpower. If you have the will to be a Gaon like Rabbi Akiva Eiger, you can become a Gaon like Rabbi Akiva Eiger. If you have the will to be a tzaddik like Sahai Meinu, you can become a tzaddik like Sahai Meinu. You don't care because you gave up in advance. So then, yeah, you won't. It's going to fail. Because at that point, you have no success. It's kedai to look in the Ma'amar. It's Ma'amar Hey in the year Tafshin Lamed Aleph in Sichot Musar. Of course, Reb Chaim elaborates a lot more than I did. I just pulled out tiny things. I challenge you with one thing. Where do we know this from a Ramban? The same idea. You know, the Ramban was hundreds and hundreds of years before Reb Chaim Shmulevitz, who was just now in the past generation. I'll make it easier for you. A Ramban that has to do with the Mishkan. Ramban says this idea clearly. I don't know why Reb Chaim didn't use the Ramban as his case. I guess he felt that this was more, he connected with this more. So there's a Ramban. Boys, I know, unfortunately, don't learn Ramban so much, but girls normally in Beit Yaakov learn Ramban, so I thought on the women's section we would have an answer for this. There's a Ramban that says, it says in Parashat Vayekel, by Nidvat HaMishkan, V'chol asher nadva rucho oto heviu tchuma la'Hashem l'mlechet oil moed. Whoever wanted brought to donate to the oil moed. So the Ramban says, what does it mean, kol ish asher nasa'o libo? Anybody who his heart carried him. What does it mean his heart carried him? So he says, Ala chachamim ha'osim b'mlacha yomar ken. We're not talking about the donors. We're talking about those who did the actual work. Why? So he explains it. And he says, what does it mean whoever carried his heart? He said, those who came to volunteer to work, he says they all were people that came out of Egypt. Meaning they were slaves. The only thing they did in Egypt was construction. So they knew construction of rocks, but that was it. Pitom Beram says. You had to know Maaseh Choshev, how to weave, how to this, all these fancy things that they had to do. And from there, they were studying Torah with Moshe Rabbeinu. So they definitely didn't go to college or to arts class or whatever. And they were able to construct the Mishkan with the greatest beauty in the world. So how's it possible? They weren't talented for this. They didn't have the set of skills. So where'd they get a set of skills from? Comes the Ramban and says, "Vatam ki lo haya bahem shelamat hamlachot ha'elu mimlamed o mimi she'imen bahem yadav klal." There wasn't anybody who worked for the Mishkan that learned from a teacher how to do it, or somebody who trained them, even a life coach or a coach in this area. Aval matzah b'tivo she'yada la'asot ken. He had an instinct that maybe I know how to do this thing, and therefore what? Vayigba libo b'darkei Hashem. And at that point he took courage and he said, this is a mitzvah to do this. He took pride in what he thinks he knows how to do. He never did it before. But he took pride in what he thinks he knows how to do. And he went to Moshe Rabbeinu and he told him, Ani e'eseh kol asher adoni dover. Tell me what you want me to do and I'll do it. What do you mean, but you don't know how to do it? What experience do you have, right? Imagine you're going to get a job in some prestigious place today and they tell you, where's your resume? And you give them a blank piece of paper. You say, what's this? This is my resume. So what do you mean? I said, I never did anything before. Here, this is my resume, blank. Then if you're lucky, you're not walking out there with a black and blue eye. But a job, you're definitely not getting. They came to Moshe Rabbeinu with a blank piece of paper and said, any job will do. What do you mean any job will do? Comes Ramban and says over here, big chidush. And this is the same Yisod that Reb Chaim said, just in a different twist. He says that when a person's vayigba libo b'darkei Hashem, he takes the courage and says, I want to do that mitzvah, I want to help out in this chesed, I want to do this, I want to do that. Kadosh Baruch Hu says, I'll make it that you should be able to do it. So even though they never went to school, and this is the answer to the idiots that say, how do these Kollel students ever make a living afterwards? even though they never went to school and they sat and learned all day, when it came time to have to succeed, they succeeded. Look at so many Hasidic sects around the world that have the wealthiest people alive today. These guys don't know how to sign their own name. They have a personal assistant to write their own name in English because they can't. They don't speak English properly. They don't know how to communicate properly. They can't read an email. Most of them have kosher phones. And they're worth hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars in a few years. Because Hashem says if you want to succeed, if you want to do something, your academic level makes no difference at that point. Your skill set makes no difference at that point. If you don't want to, you'll never do it. You'll always stay stuck in the same place. I can't learn. I never learned Gemara. I can't. Remember this Ramban. The Ramban says, you want to learn Gemara, you'll be able to learn Gemara. I can't do it. It's not my level. That's because you're right, it's not your level. You know why? Because you set your level this low. Now set your level a little higher. It'll be on your level. Once somebody told me they were in my house at Shabbat. So I was speaking to them, I don't know how it came up, a subject of a certain mitzvah. And I said, maybe it's about time to take it into consideration. The person's answer was, not on my level yet. 2 minutes later, my kid, who today was 7.5, Hashem should watch over him, then he was 4, came to me and said, Daddy, he wants a certain game, and he points in the game closet like 3 shelves up. He wants to play that game, Shabbat afternoon. I said, so why don't you get it? He said, I can't reach it. I said, let me help you. I took a chair, I put it on top of the chair. I said, can you reach it now? He says, yeah. I said, what changed? He said, I'm on the chair, that's what. I said, maybe donate to that girl over there a chair too. She'll be on the level, she'll be able to keep it. Vayikbal libo b'darkei Hashem means you choose where you want to be. You set the level. You set the standard. And when you set the standard, based on that, it works. But if you set a low standard, of course it's going to be a low standard. And the same thing works a lot of deal in business and in everything else. You set a standard that you want to not do anything with yourself, you'll never do anything with yourself. You set a standard that you want to succeed, you will succeed. That's the koach hayehudi. Is there any rational case to say how Israel is controlling almost half the technology in the world and the majority of the cybersecurity of the world? That means the whole world today, cybersecurity is the most important thing, right? A lot more than atomic bombs and everything else. With one cyber error in a bank and the world's over. The whole financial system and the whole world collapses. So this little country with 8 million Jews that's under 70 years old is controlling the majority of the security of the entire world. All the patents, all the companies, it's all in their hands. That makes sense. A country that's being persecuted, going to war every couple of years, suffering, has the United Nations voting against them every time they're bored, has the only tzarot. And with all of that, and we go to college when we're 18, they can't even think of going to college till they're 21 because they got to serve in the army first. And that's in the best case scenario. So they get a much later start to life. Their schooling years, by the way, are much longer also. They don't have the financial means to do it because they're coming straight out of the army. And anyway, they're the most advanced. Yeah, like Bali Bova, they'll cash in. Because Baruch said, Jewish kids are going to believe in themselves. They'll say, we can do it. They'll be the startup nation. They'll be the ones that are going to control the world. It's that simple. It's an unbelievable koach, an unbelievable potential, unbelievable strength that Baruch Hu gave each and every one of us. If you were given such talent and you waste it, that's a real crime. When I see somebody who's driving on the highway, when the speed limit's 65 on the Garden State Parkway, and he's driving an AMG Mercedes 30 miles an hour, it annoys me. Because that's what you spent all that money for on a 12-cylinder engine? To drive half the speed limit of the highway? That's what you did it for? It annoys me, I'm telling you the truth.
No, you feel comfortable.
Maybe his imagination is comfortable. But no. Because Baruch Hu gave us such an engine, like Bali Boma Darkei Hashem, that believe in yourself and you can do it, and then you walk around like a loser. So what's left? Where's the seichel now? It makes no sense. And this is really a big yisod. And because he loves gulot, we end off with a wonderful sgula, which I said already, but now we'll translate it into words. And this is not a sgula in theory. This is, if you can get yourself, I don't know if you can get yourself for it to be real. But if you can get yourself to it to be real, you'll see instantly that it works instantly. If a person can get himself to really go to work in the morning, 100% for the reason of A, that there's an obligation and a mitzvah to support yourself and your family in a respectful way. And B, because I want to be a huge Baal Tzedakah, he will be rich very quickly, no matter what. Because at that point, it's exactly the Ramban of Binyan Mishkan. If your purpose is to be able to be Mekayem the mitzvah of Tzedakah, and that's your real purpose, then Hashem says right away yes. Because he promises. You can go to the Ramban and say, Ramban, what's going on? That's what Hashem promised by Asiyat Mishkan. If you want to succeed in something, you'll be able to succeed. Now, I said, you have to get yourself really to that level. I don't believe that almost anybody is even 1 ounce close to that level. And the proof is, everybody says, of course if I'll be rich, I'll give Maaseh. It's an idiot. If you be rich, you give 90%. Otherwise, you're not going to work for Hashem. You're going to work for yourself. So don't fool yourself. But if your goal is really to be about tzedakah, to give it all away for good things, you're going to be rich right away. There's no ifs, ands, and buts about it. Because at that point, HaKadosh Baruch Hu really... And if it's not working, then start doing bedek bayit inside. And start looking, maybe what I want to use my money for is not exactly what Hashem wants. And that's not why it's not working. And the same thing in every other area. You want to succeed in a test at school. If you stay focused the night before instead of on anxiety, how am I going to do? What's going to be? I don't know. The world's coming to an end. Instead, you stay focused and say, I'm doing a mitzvah, shtadlut. Today's generation, some people have to go to college. That's what should we do? This is the mitzvah. And this is my shtadlut, and therefore I'm here. The Baruch will make it work. I'm doing this for you, not for me. For me, I would rather go learn tonight. I have no choice. I got to pass school. Suddenly the tests work. And just in our minyan alone, we have countless boys that could say stories of how they came to shiurim the night before a test, even though it was suicide because they were supposed to study. And the next day they did a lot better than their average of the whole year. And like this story, we have tons of those just here alone. Why? It's not a zvula, it's a fact. Hashem says, Vayikba, you raised the bar, you said that this is the reason why you want to do it, and the proof is in the pudding because you came to learn anyway. So I raised the bar too. It's unbelievably so. Baruch should help, as we concluded from Chaim Shalevis before, that we should never say, we shouldn't undercut ourselves. Never say I can't. Say I will, and Hashem will make it happen. Bruchim to you, Hashem.